UNIDO, the Organization for Industrial Development. And but I also have a past in the trade show business as a representative for major trade shows like Munich and Cologne in Eastern Europe, where we, with my organization, the Chamber of Commerce at the time, promoted these trade shows in these markets. So we try to find exhibitors and visitors from these markets to attend these trade shows. So we had to sell trade shows, and that's why I'm a bit familiar, and also participate in many trade shows as visitor, but also as exhibitor myself. Also in my function now at United Nations, we are participating in trade shows. We are organizing joint booths, and so it's an ongoing process, a platform we use all the time. In the last year, obviously, we had to change the format to a more digital approach, and this is also what we'll talk about today. So I'll share my presentation now. Just a second. Yes, here we go. Hope you can see that. The topic is basically, how to make the most out of your trade show visit. Unfortunately, you will not be physically present. But actually, before we start, I'd like to give Aleksandar the chance to introduce himself. Sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everybody. I have the habit, if we have such an international audience, I sometimes like to welcome everybody in their own language. Here, I gave up. I looked at the name of the list of names and at the origins, and it would just be, I would end up somewhere on YouTube and you would make fun of me. So it's too many languages, it's too many cultures. It's wonderful, it's great, and it's great to be among all of you. And I congratulate you to keep your relations with the country where you spend some time, and that's obviously Germany, studying or in academia. So it's great to see that it attracts such a diverse group of people. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for inviting us. As it was already said, my name is Aleksandar Medjedovic. Skip the last name, it's way too difficult even for people from my country, so I'm Aleksandar. And I will be giving some practical advice later on when Michael finishes on how to make the most out of your trade fair participation. One remark beforehand, you will hear a lot of different words and terminologies. When we say trade show, trade fair, or exhibition or event, we essentially mean the same. So you might be wondering, why one says trade show and the other says trade fair. It has to do with British English and American English, and really the terminologies are used in different ways. So if you hear any of these, show, fair, exhibition, or event, it's all the same. It's the trade fair that we're all going to. Michael, back to you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Aleksandar. So basically, in my part of this presentation, I'm just trying to set the scene to see what is BIOFACH, what is a trade show, how does this relate to other trade shows, what is your role in a trade show, how can you position yourself to make the most out of that. After that, Aleksandar will go more into depth and look at the BIOFACH itself. As you can see here in this slide, I also entered the VivaNES eSpecial, which is a parallel trade show. I don't know, maybe this is interesting for some of you. In addition to BIOFACH, there is also the trade show VivaNES for natural cosmetics, which is a related industry, and they are joining forces on this platform, including this eSpecial. Maybe to get started and to get a better feel for where you come from, how do you approach these trade shows? I'd like Admir just to start the first survey question. Can you launch the question, Admir? All right. So it's just basically asking you to find out to what extent you actually ever been to a leading trade show, a leading global trade show. We call it Weltleitmesse. So it's one of these German words that you cannot translate, but it's very specific. So it's the leading trade show in a specific industrial sector. It's not one of many trade shows. So it's, if you go to the furniture trade show in Cologne, it's the furniture trade show for the global industry. So Thank you. So it's about like 1/3 of you. So as you can see from the results, it's 1/3 of you who have attended such trade shows, and 2/3 that have never been on such a trade show. But I assume that most of you have been at some type of trade show, and we will get into that later, what this could be in terms of categories. Next question, Admir. I will just plow on there 2 or 3 questions at the start I wanted to ask everyone. Admir, can you start the second question, please?
Yes, Michael. Just a moment, please.
All right. They are just questions to get you start thinking about the trade show, maybe, and also later on for the discussion. Second question is, yes, now you are in a way victims of the situation around COVID-19, that you have to attend this trade show virtually. And it would be interesting to see your assessment of whether this is a future trend. This is just an exceptional year and trade shows will stay the same, will return to normal after the pandemic. Yes, that's it, I think. So I can now release the results.
So it's interesting. So it says trade shows will be less important.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if some of it, yeah, basically, they will decrease the role of, so you think that 74% of you think that the trade shows will increase, well, their importance will decrease and digital formats will increase. And that's very interesting because we all do this now. We use these digital formats, we think it's normal. But what is interesting is to contrast this with the results of a recent survey of about 500 exhibitors at German trade shows. And they say there are only 20% of those that say that they will in future rely on digital formats. They are not happy with the results. There were about 50 digital trade shows conducted last year in Germany, and like the average, on average, the people made only 10 to 30% of their business they would do on a normal trade show. So it's much less effective in generating sales and contacts, etc. So the insiders, the people that go to the trade shows exhibiting, they are not very convinced about the digital formats. Although 50% of them say that they will use digital formats as a complementary tool in the future, but it's not enough and it doesn't get them where they want to, where they were before in terms of success. Like one more question, the last one, which I will just let release, and we will answer at the end of the presentation or towards my part of the presentation at least.
Yep, that's number 3.
All right. Okay, so this is about your assessment of Germany as a place for trade shows.
So we're asking you, what do you think? How much percentage of the best fairs and largest fairs in the world are taking place in Germany? There are some fairs, of course, all around the world.
Each industry,
yeah, but it's your opinion. It's actually what you think it is.
So 4 more can answer. Right.
They're trying to, maybe somebody's trying to look it up on the internet, you know?
Yeah, no, but I think we got the gist. We know
we did.
It's about, most people think it's about 30%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
That's it. So we can stop here with the surveys and continue. So I will just help you to locate BIOFACH to see why it is important, because it's a very specific industry. It's a niche in a way. It's becoming more mainstream, organic food, but why is it so important, and how does it compare to other trade shows, and also to economic development, and how our countries interact in terms of trade and investment. Because in the end, it's all about this. It's about connecting markets, consumers, people, and goods. And this is always reflected in trade. That's why I look at the trade at the beginning. Then I'll look at the German trade industry, how important are trade fairs generally, and how does Messe Nürnberg, which is one of the larger trade show organizers in Germany, play into that. And then a more theoretical part, but I think it's quite interesting for the subsequent discussion and your understanding. Your role in the trade show is to see what type of trade show is it, what are the expectations, who attends these trade shows, what happens at these trade shows compared to other trade shows. And then in the last part, which is actually more extensive than it seems here, this overview, Aleksandar will go into depth and introduce BIOFACH to you and give you some practical advice. So let's look at trade first. As you can see from this graph, trade is increasing tremendously and has increased 10 times since the 1950s. Germany itself, I mean, you're all you know Germany, you have some connection with Germany thanks to the various programs that you attended or are attending. Germany itself has a long tradition in trade shows since the Middle Ages. I mean, this is a very old concept in Europe. But since the war, it's actually been it's really developed very rapidly in line with the trade. As Germany expanded, the so-called economic miracle took place. The German trade industry developed as well and provided a platform. For example, the Hanover trade show, where Aleksandar comes from, he comes from Hanover, he knows it very well, didn't even exist in that form before the war. It was because the Leipzig fair in eastern part of Germany was the main fair, and then it was cut off due to the division of Germany. The new fairground in Hanover was established, and it was like the engine for exports for Germany. And this is the world trade, and this is not just happening in Germany, but worldwide. And obviously, there are various products, various that are being traded. It's from raw materials to highly sophisticated machinery. And these have to be somehow displayed. They have to engage the producers of these machinery, these products need to find their clients in their various formats. And as you can see, you might think that countries that have a very high share of exports, like in this case, for example, Nigeria, are very strong in terms of trade show presence, because they depend a lot on exports. But what I want to show with this graph is that the composition of these exports is very important. In the case of Nigeria, over 90% of the exports is oil and gas. So it's mainly raw materials. Whilst you see United States, you could think, well, they only have 10% share in trade, but it's a much larger economy. And the types of export they have, they're much more diversified. So they need a lot of various platforms to present these products. For Nigeria, it was enough to meet major oil companies that will buy their oil or go to a major trade show for drilling equipment. That's it. So whilst in a very diversified economy, highly industrialized economy, you have a large spectrum of industry sectors, products, and commensurately also trade shows. Interesting here to see also China, how China is sort of changing. It used to be very much export dependent, and now it's turning more into a the domestic economy is very strong, but that doesn't mean that there are less trade shows in China. Quite the opposite. It's also a booming market for trade shows, just by the sheer size of the market. And here you can see the other side of the coin, which is very important, is also it's not just export but imports. Like countries like Germany or US, they're not only strong exporters but also the largest importers of goods, of semi-finished goods, but also finished goods, and that makes them very interesting for trade shows. So if you want to tap the US market, you can see that there's much more potential than in Nigeria for all kinds of products, because I don't know the number, but it's like hundreds times larger in terms of volume. And this is where you want to be with these trade shows. And as you can see, Germany is very high up as well. I mean, comparing it to India with over 1 billion inhabitants, it's highly developed in that sense, highly import dependent. So it's a large market and very sophisticated in terms of variety of products. This is also where, for example, BIOFACH comes in, because you have this is a very specialized, a niche product. In a way, the trade show, and it requires a certain living standard, because it's a luxury in a way, the organic food sector. So all these markets, sort of, you have a concentration in these markets. But at the same time, countries like India, for example, they're important exporters to these markets, also for the organic food, for example, and there's a huge potential for increasing trade and bringing these countries even closer together. And this is what trade shows can do. You also have investment, because it's flows that are changing, and as you can see, they're very erratic. Like for the European Union, foreign direct investment is important, because many trade shows also, well, you have consumer goods trade shows where you have final products, and then you have investment goods trade shows. And if you have a high degree of investments and foreign direct investments, you have more demand for machinery. And this is particularly interesting for German companies, because they are producing machineries that, rather than final products, they produce the machines to produce these final products. So they look at the investment pattern, where are investments happening, and this is where they can export their machinery to. And this is also why they look at these markets. And I mean, it does not mean, for example, if China is a great market for investment goods, that all these trade shows will happen in China, because the Chinese will come to Germany to buy these machines in Germany, because they find the leading trade shows, these Weltleitmesse, they will find the full spectrum of all producers, and they happen usually only every 2 or 3 years, these large trade shows, so it's more effective rather than have many trade shows all over the globe. These markets develop thanks to the German trade shows in the context, or the leading trade shows in other countries as well, that are happening there. So this may be just to give you a feel for the sector that we're looking at, organic food. It's also growing tremendously. I mean, if you're around here in Germany and look at the shops, it's one of the industries that has done very well during COVID-19. People are much more aware of their health. They spend more money, more time at home. So they spend more money on quality products. And this obviously, there's also this whole issue about climate change, climate sustainable agriculture practices. All this plays into the sector. So BIOFACH, which might have started a long time ago as a really a small scale event for for a niche market, is becoming mainstream and growing. Just a few words on the German trade show industry. I don't know if you want to add something, Aleksandar, to this part. Yeah, I'll just go through this. So it's like, as you can see, the space, in terms of space available, as these are million square meters we're talking about, Europe is still far ahead of the other regions in the world. So the trade show industry, as I mentioned, has tradition in Europe, especially in Germany. And most numbers of events also take place in Europe. Obviously, they're Asia, China, they're also catching up with large-scale events. Quite often, like say in China, you have the import promotion trade show, you have new fairground facilities that are state-sponsored. Actually, maybe it's interesting, generally, trade shows are supported by government. In China, more, I would say, like about 100%, whilst in Germany as well, but you have like a combination of federal government in Germany and the Länder, the regional governments and even local governments that are participating, and sometimes even industry associations invest in these trade shows. Is that right, Aleksandar? I mean, more or less. Yeah, and but it's a big issue, like how do you develop the trade show industry? There are large investments, capital intensive investments, and does it pay off? This is a big question. Maybe just a quick slide for information. This is a ranking of the top trade shows in the world in terms of size. And the blue ones, the blue ones are in Europe. So you can see most of these are in Europe. And Nuremberg Messe, where you would have gone to physically, is a larger one as well. It's 25th place, about 170 square meters. And just to give you an idea how important they are in terms of income, they generate about 300 million euros per year. Nuremberg Messe, just Nuremberg Messe. Others like Frankfurt, even more. This depends obviously also on the year. In some years you have big, very successful trade shows, and some trade shows, they fluctuate a lot because they have these flagship events. But they obviously try to smoothen this and to grow, which is not easy in these days. I mean, these figures would look completely different, at least the income for 2020. It will be very sad.
Maybe just for me to mention, 20 years ago when I entered another phase of the trade fair industry, 20 years ago, there was no Asian name here among the top 20. They were non-existent.
Yeah.
Now we have, as you can see, a lot of Chinese cities. These wonderful Chinese cities that we never hear of. I've never heard of Wuhan before. Well, before what we have now, but now they're in they're 19th. So it is a huge rise of exhibition space in China, and Shanghai is number 2. And again, 20 years ago they were number 40, 35, totally down the list. And the Germans were the first, and then some Italian cities or French, British. So you can see that Asia, obviously, analog to the numbers that Michael has explained before, is becoming hugely important in the industry.
Yeah, it's very difficult to develop an industry, trade show industry. I mean, I'm here at the United Nations. We also had requests from African countries, say Ethiopia, how to set up a trade show. And the risk is that you create white elephants, that the government or someone or donor invests in buildings and then nothing happens. You know, you need to bring in the industry. The advantage of the German trade shows is that they're usually the industry associations. In the case of BIOFACH, it's the national one for organic food and the European one. They are the partners of the trade show, and then they promote the trade show. It's part of their activities. So it's very much interlinked with the business sector and the companies. In newly industrializing countries, quite often you don't have this link. You have the government, the state that says we want to develop this sector, but there's no private sector, there's no business association following and bringing life to these trade shows. So it's not easy. And we'll see in many of these Chinese trade shows, I know I visited many of them, lack this type of the market approach that we have here in Germany, where you where companies participated on a commercial basis, they pay, they're not subsidized, you know, so and they have a clear reason to go to these trade shows, and that is to increase sales or to see innovations. And when once politics meddles too much with the trade shows, you have problems, and it's not sustainable. Then, so this is maybe just focusing on the German market. You can see on the left side how the trade shows have developed in 2019. That was a very good year. I mean, this was really a year before the crisis, and these figures will look terrible for 2020. So you have you had 180,000 exhibitors and 10 million visitors coming to German trade shows. And Germany is the #1 trade show location. Okay, this is data from the German Association of Trade Show Organizers. So obviously they like to boast, but it is by many criteria the #1 in terms of the number of trade shows, larger ones, but also, and this is coming back to the question at the beginning, the fact that 2/3, so it's about 66% so of global leading trade shows are taking place in Germany. So if you want to go to the leading trade show for organic food, BIOFACH, you have to come to Germany. If you want to go to the leading global trade show for furniture, you have to go to IMM in Cologne. If you want to go to the leading trade show for industrial machinery, you go to the Hanover Industrial Trade Show. So this is like the pulse, the place for the industry to meet. Sometimes like in Bauma, which is the construction machinery industry fair in Munich, it only takes place every 4 years because you need to bring in huge machines. It's very costly to exhibit. You know, it's often the only trade show because it doesn't make sense to have a small trade show with a construction machinery because you need to choose between these. And where can you exhibit so many of these different machines? And you need a huge area for that. So here you have 2 links. Later on, you'll probably receive this presentation. You can check out the Association of German Trade Show Industry. There's a lot of material like this, data on trade shows, but more on the operational side, like for you planning visits to trade shows, irrespective of BIOFACH, my advice is to access the database of AUMA, of the association, where you can search any trade shows in Germany, but also globally that interest you. You say, okay, I'm into beekeeping, you will find a trade show that is there, and you can or furniture or whatever in your country, you can use this database. So it's not only for Germany, it's also for any region in the world where you might be located and able to attend trade shows. So this is just to summarize the importance of the trade show business. We saw the revenues that the trade shows generate directly, like 300 million for Nuremberg trade show with various events, BIOFACH being one of them. So in terms of political support, it's very important to note that the trade shows don't just generate direct income, but also indirect income for the cities, communities, regions that they take place in. If you go during a trade show to Munich or Hanover, you will not be able to find a hotel. They're all booked and they're like 3, 4, 5 times the price of the normal time. So these service providers, taxi drivers, accommodation, hospitality, they benefit from these trade shows immensely. And this is the so-called multiplier effect of trade shows. And that's why we'll see now how the Corona crisis plays out, how the government will support these trade shows to keep them alive, because they are strategically important for many regions and create a lot of employment, as you can see, 230,000 full-time jobs in Germany. So now we moved quickly to the types of trade show where I'll try to locate BIOFACH in terms of these categories. I just made some here a list, of like types of trade shows by the degree of processing of the products, what is being shown. And here we talk, for example, about food products, agricultural products. They require a lot of inputs. And BIOFACH is right at the bottom, as you can see. So the industry, organic food products doesn't exist in isolation. So there's a whole chain of processes, of products, of machinery, of companies involved. And you start maybe with raw materials for these for agricultural production. You have trade shows in Hanover that look at agricultural machinery or animals and raising animals, and they are basically looking at the primary production of agriculture, which is also important, the machines for this. So people that attend these trade shows, they're usually farmers, agro holdings, large ones that need machineries to do this more effectively. So
Michael, may I just jump in? May I just jump in for a second? Sure. I was going to return to that slide, but maybe I can say it already now. It will save us time later on. When you look at this slide, it's most of all important for you to decide which trade fair you will be going to in the future. If you have a choice of fairs, or if you're being told by your management, or you tell yourself, I want to attend a fair for organic stuff, then you have to look at the whole chain, not only at one part. And this is why this slide and this diagram is hugely important. You need to position yourself as a visitor very, very clearly on what you want to achieve. If you want to talk to, well, if you want to see the animals, then don't go to Nuremberg. You won't see them. You're going to see the products. You can taste the products. But if you want to see the animals, that's even one step behind that. That's the Salon d'Agriculture, agricultural salons, the huge ones that take place in Paris or in other big cities. And then specialized ones are broken down here very well. If you're interested into machinery, then again, don't go see the animals unless you like them, but go to that specific fair. So if you not have that much experience in identifying the fairs, I suggest you to always look at this chain and say, where do I place myself? What is my interest? And then you'll be able to find the event that you're looking for, and that's obviously BIOFACH right now.
Yeah. Yes, and if you look at BIOFACH, the exhibitors at BIOFACH, say the guy who's selling olive oil or I don't know, some nuts, he will be a visitor. He's exhibiting at BIOFACH. He wants to sell his nuts or his oil to traders. But he will be visiting, he will be the visitor to, say, Food Anuga Tech, Drink Tech, the processing trade shows, because he needs the machines to produce the oil. Yeah, he needs to go to Drink Tech or Brauviviale, which is actually also in Nuremberg, to see how he can improve his processes, how he can invest, etc. So exhibitors are also visitors at other trade shows. So, and this is why we call them like Fachbesucher, the specialized visitors. I mean, they're visitors that are really need these machines that are exhibited. And then, I mean, you have the other level of processing or transformation, we call it packaging. If you want to sell products at the BIOFACH, you want to make sure you have a really nice packaging, because it increases the value of your product, how you can sell it. It increases shelf life. It's a marketing tool as well. And then you want to know how do I package my stuff, And then you go to trade shows like Interpack in Düsseldorf or Fachpack, which again is a trade show in Nuremberg. So in Nuremberg, you actually have quite a nice line of shows like with Brauviviale, Fachpack, and BIOFACH. You have the whole value chain in one location in a way. Not for all products, so people tend to attend many trade shows, but these are big ones, and you can find almost anything to find also ingredients for your production, for example, but also machines, etc. And obviously, these trade shows are also fora for exchanging information, how to do things. There's a conference program, so people learn a lot how to improve their production, their products. Yeah, and then now coming to the last step, the final product, which is where BIOFACH is located. You have major trade shows like Anuga in Cologne, which is the largest trade show for food products in the world. It's changing every year with a trade show in Paris. So it's taking place every other year. And it covers all types of products. You know, you have meat, you have cereals, you have and that's usually the big supermarket chains, for example, they order their products there for the next year. And they're also more specialized areas, and in a way, it's sort of eating into the market of BIOFACH. Anuga is also aware of the trends that sustainable production, organic food is becoming mainstream. So this is a big conflict between BIOFACH and Anuga, the traditional food fairs, and the more advanced organic type projects. So they all have their place, but it's sort of merging. So it's very, I mean, the market is growing, but Anuga is also taking away a lot of business from BIOFACH. I also added Gulfood is just to show that there are big trade shows also outside of Germany. Gulfood is in Dubai. It's like a huge food trade show, which is especially relevant for the Asian market, but not only, it's also a global trade show now. So you want to add anything, Aleksandar? Okay. So now it gets a bit theoretical. I just tried to show you like where you are. So you have different types of trade shows. You have on the right, if you look on the right, you have the public fairs, which is like a trade show that's open to anyone. You know, you can go with your kids, with your grandmother, you can taste things, it's usually a regional one, you know, so it's regional companies, it's nice, you know, you can get it, but it's more like a public fair that's looking at the final consumer. At these trade shows, you can also order things, buy things, so it's a direct connection with the customer in these trade shows. I made the box small because just to show you that they are relatively unimportant in terms of economic turnover and impact. They are nice, you know. It's a way to connect with your local producers, and but they're not the real trade shows where huge volumes of products, quantities are ordered, and international trade is moved. It's a local event, and probably most of you have seen and attended these trade shows. But I made this dotted line to show that it's a different world. Has nothing to do with the specialized trade shows. You are, in a way, you're a public visitor. On the green boxes, they show the type of visitor you have. You are a public visitor. You are also a final consumer, I guess. So you might be interested in public fairs, but in this case, you are attending as a public visitor. You can attend all these trade shows, and you are attending a consumer goods trade show, the BIOFACH. Consumer trade show, as I mentioned, is a trade show where where final products with packaging and everything are presented, and not for the consumer, but for traders, that order at the booth of the main exhibitors. And these guys that are exhibiting at the consumer trade show like BIOFACH, they don't look at you too much, because you are, as you see here, you have a small box. Your market power is very small. It's actually irrelevant, because at the trade show you will not order anything with them. You will not generate any business for these exhibitors. So this is why it might be difficult to access these guys that are exhibiting at the trade show. They are there to make business. And so you have to be careful how to approach them. Obviously, it's not all about business. There's also information on career, on innovations, on research, etc. But if you just talk to the company, this is your role, and you have to understand that they look much more, these exhibitors, at the professional trade show visitors. This is the big green box on the left bottom, because they have the money, and this is who they engage with. And there might not be many, and sometimes it's just like a couple of people they meet per day, but they make millions of contracts during these visits. They're very important. So this is the focus of these exhibitors. This is where they generate their business, and this is why they come to the trade show. Then on the top left, you have another type of trade show. This is the investment goods trade show. As you can see, it's not. They also look much more at the professional trade show visitors, and there you have machinery, etc. yeah, it's different type of product exhibiting. I think that's it for me now. Aleksandar, you can now introduce.
Yes, I will take over.
Maybe you
and
can comment as well.
Yes. Well, I will take over and guide you into the more practical part. And while my colleague is stopping to share his screen, and I will attempt to share mine,
That's right.
I'd just like to tell everybody, I mean, all these things that you've heard now, they might appear a little bit dry, they might appear a little bit, far away from you, but do take some time, do take a time to look up some things. For
This lies, Alex.
Sorry about that. There was I hit the wrong button. I was saying that while my colleagues are closing their presentation, I'll open mine. I just like to remark, you've seen a lot of facts now from Michael. They might appear far away from you and not so interesting, but I urge you actually, if you're interested in the subject, I urge you to look into some of the points that Michael made. For example, the cities. The trade fair grounds are huge importance for many cities around the world. So maybe it's interesting, if you have a favorite city that you would like to go to, like Tokyo or Delhi or Nairobi, take a look if they have a fairground, take a look how it looks like. It can be an interesting point to know. This trade fair industry is really interesting also for the development of the city and of all the things that are going around in the cities. And if you tell me now that you see my screen, then I will go straight into my presentation, and which will help you to understand a little bit better the points that I'm making. And I think we're on the way now. So if you confirm to me that you're seeing now BIOFACH Libanes, I can go on.
Of course, we can see.
Great. So I'd just like to pick up where Michael left, and I'd like to tell you what's waiting for you next week or in 2 weeks at BIOFACH. Now, first of all, I know you know that, and I don't want to dig in, but you're really missing, unfortunately, a great opportunity. BIOFACH is one of the best trade fairs in the world, in general, for anything. I've attended the fair more than 10 times, and it's the highlight of the year. So it's really the best of the best. It's a shame that it has to be like this right now. So I still encourage you to take the best out of it, to take the best opportunity and visit it online. But it's really great. It's really a great fair. So my name is Aleksandar Medjedovic. I am here as the member of the board of the Turkish-German Chamber of Commerce. Chambers of Commerce are dealing with a lot of business issues, with a lot of trade. And within our Chamber of Commerce, the Turkish-German one, I'm in charge of informing about the trade fairs. So this is my link to it. And why Turkey? I have spent the last 20 years living and working in Turkey and Istanbul, and this is why I'm part of this organization. And as we said, fair enough, how to make the most out of your trade visit. And I'll be telling you a little bit some practical advice. You can look it up later on. The presentation will be available, but I really hope that you can learn something in this presentation. So let's go just back to BIOFACH. I'm not going to be showing you any statistics, nothing. You can look up everything. You can just open the internet and find everything. I'm going to be sharing my personal experiences. So all you will hear from me is about what I think and what I've experienced, and I'll try to pass it on in a way so that you can draw your own conclusions on it. If you have trouble understanding me, if I'm too fast, too slow, not speaking well enough, please raise your hand, just send me a direct message or to Admir or to the other colleagues, and I'll try to change it. So we're jumping back to Nuremberg now, or next week, into the virtual fair. So it's really one of the largest fairs for organic food and organic issues, because there is also cosmetics, there will also be some raw materials. So they're moving into covering the whole area of organic. It is definitely, I'm ready to sign that anywhere at any time. It's definitely the best fair in the world. There's nothing like that. I can assure you this is the best fair that you can get. Been organized for more than 30 years, very professionally. From the moment you get there until the moment you leave, you're in professional hands. And it's been growing all over these 30 years. It has a very good Congress program. Do participate in that. I think that's a high value for people like you who are in search for new opportunities. So log into the conference program. It will also be online. And also, by the way, many exhibitors they offer lectures, conferences. So look up and make sure you find the right program for you there. The demand for organic food is huge in the world, and it's one of the industries that is doing actually quite well now in this pandemic. So BIOFACH is the opportunity to satisfy those needs. And this eSpecial, it's a very ambitious approach of Nuremberg Messe. Nuremberg Messe is a very, very good fair company, one of the best in the world. But to put it, all of it in digital format, it's very ambitious. Be patient. If something is not working perfectly fine, then just be patient and try to get yourself into it, because these people made really a huge effort. The platform they use is called Talk. It's quite user-friendly. It's easy to navigate. You're going to find yourself very easily into it. At one point, there is a lot of information coming on the screen. So be sure that you see everything that is there. If not, take a pen and do some notes. It's going to help you. And also there is no exhibitor search machine before you log in, which I find quite unuseful. But maybe later on, after the paywall, I didn't pay for it. I'm not going to visit it this year. So maybe after you pay for it and you register for it, let's say, there is more convenient facilities to find the companies that you're looking for. You need to figure that out. They have a kind of onboarding process. They try to make you get information about you and try to find out what you're doing and how what you're looking for. So I also can't say how that is. Just take a look and make sure you give them the right information. And also an advice: the first couple of meetings that you set up with companies, set them up with friends that you know. That is not a serious meeting, that you can make a mock-up, you can make a kind of test, because I found it quite difficult to enter, to understand how the meetings are set up. After 2-3 meetings, you're gonna love it, and it's worthwhile doing the effort, but do 1 or 2 test runs. So I already started giving advice, so it's practical advice how to visit BIOFACH. So we're now on the ground, and I want to tell you how to make the most out of your trade fair visit. Okay, you'll ask, okay, who is this guy? Why is he talking? If you look up my profile on LinkedIn, doesn't say much. I was born in 1970, and when I was 13 years of age, I visited my first trade fair in Germany, here in Hanover. I liked it so much that I wanted to work there, but German law prohibits working if you're younger than 16. So I waited until I was 16, and then I started a job in stand cleaning. And stand cleaning is not the most fun thing to do. So at some point, I got good translator jobs. Already at that time, I spoke 6 languages, and I could be helpful as a translator. And I liked it so much that during university, I found my first full-time job in 1992. And since then, I've been doing nothing else, more or less. So I worked in the USA, in Switzerland, Germany, France, Singapore, UAE, in the UK, and finally in Turkey. And there I was 15 years the head of a German company, Messe Frankfurt. It's one of the best companies in the world. Also, you see behind me, that's our fairground. And I worked for them for 15 years until I retired. Since then, I keep in touch with fairs. I do content-driven engagement in fairs. That means I don't organize them, but I, for example, help friends or companies to design their stand. I speak at the conference programs, or I moderate conferences, and I do things like today. I try to give my knowledge. And do I plan to return to the fair industry? Yes, when I'm rich and famous, when I can really retire, I plan to do my own fair. One day I will do my own fair on something. I will own it, I will organize it. So maybe one day you will visit my fair, I don't know. So in 25 years, just to tell you the magnitude of it, in 25 years, I have visited or worked at fairs in each European country, not one left over, including the Vatican City. There was a fair there that I attended. Almost each Asian country, including North Korea. I'm one of the few people who attended a trade fair in North Korea. In more than half of the American states, like 25 states, a handful Latin American countries and 2 handful Africans. And I really counted last night. And at the end of the day, I think I've seen 1,500, maybe a couple more in 25 years. And I can tell you, I do remember almost each of these fairs, because each of them is special, each of them is separate, each of them, you live something. I visited fairs in Paris where we had no public transportation and no taxis. So, how do you get to the fair? It's 20 kilometers away. So you do remember things that happen at these fairs. And then, picking up on what Michael said and what I'm telling you also right now, why fairs become a passion. Just a few words on it. It's a live event. So it says everything. It's live, it's living. It's not something dead or something on paper. It's live communication. This is a very important term. Live communication is what fairs are about. You move to the third dimension. You can see things everywhere. You can see me now. Well, not me, let's not talk about it. Let's talk a nice piece of cake. You can see it, but you can also touch and feel and smell it at the fair. You can taste it. If you would be at BIOFACH in 2 weeks, you will come back, I assure you, with a couple of pounds more on your hips, because you can taste all the delicious things. It's very concentrated communication. Everybody's there. Within a few days, you can find anybody that you're looking for. It's face-to-face, and it's all about communications. You can see I've used that word a few times, and it's extremely international. At one fair, you find people from 150 countries. It's only the United Nations. If you walk into the United Nations building in New York, yes, you can do that. But the fairs are giving you the United Nations for each industry. So it's really very, very passionate. Just take a look, we've looked at some, you've seen already those during Michael's presentation, but it's a glossary, it's interesting to know these things. So we have organizer, we have exhibitors. What I want to point out, you can be a visitor, or also Americans call it attendee. So probably you would be in the role of a visitor or attendee, attending the fair or visiting the fair. Media plays a role. Some of you I've seen, there is some media relation maybe in your organization, so you could also attend the trade fair as media if you're reporting about it, or if you're reporting to your organization. So check with the organizer if that's suitable. You can be a contractor, the ones who build the stands, who provide a service. There is the B2B and B2C, I'll explain that later. And of course at fairs you see all these terms: local, national, international, global. You're going to registration, you have to get an accreditation, you go to the information desk, and don't forget there is necessities at the fair like toilets and first aid, very important facilities. And also there's lots of food and drink at fairs, and all other types of entertainment. So this is the words that you need to know if you go to a fair. The key issue, Michael already has reflected on it, I don't want to go too much into details, but basically you have to distinguish between business to business or business to customer. Why I'm telling this to you, the way you are going to a fair and the way you will be attending BIOFACH, as Michael said correctly, you won't most likely be buying things. You are going there to network, to make contacts. And I'm going to be telling that a little bit later on. Just make sure, you're not taking away time from the people who are spending money there. If you come as a researcher or as an international organization, or just as a person interested, always be aware that that people are there who make money at these fairs, and give them a priority. If there's a conversation, don't interrupt it, and you will be, you can address your issue later on. But just be aware of that these B2B fairs have an enormous value. People pay a lot of money to go there. So do you, but please be aware of it, that you need to give some priority. And obviously some industries like cars, books, aviation and tourism, it's a mix. For example, car fairs, the first 2 days, it's only for professional visitors, only for B2B. And then on the weekend, they open the doors for private visitors to see all the cars. So the first advice I'm going to be giving is how to identify and select the fairs. How to identify and do the right fair. There are way too many fairs to choose from in the world. You've seen already the list. You have to be smart. You have to be very smart. So you have to do good research, obviously online. But also I advise you to do some research offline. Ask colleagues, ask me, call me, or send me a mail. Ask Michael if we know the fair that you want to visit, if we've been there, if we know somebody who's been there. So that's first row and second row expert. Read the reports about the fair, but keep a critical eye on it. The people who release the reports are often the organizer of the fair, and they want you to come back next year. If the fair wasn't good, they want you to come back. So they might make it nicer than it was. So that's why it's important to speak to people who have been there. Then you have to look at the development. Have the fairs grown? Why is biotech so good? Because it has grown over 30 years. You have to look at the visuals. Now it's very easy. You can find YouTube clips on each and every fair, but try to find the unofficial ones. If somebody has filmed the fair with his or her mobile phone, it's probably going to be more interesting than the official video released. And of course, use your own criteria. The way you decide about other things in business or in life can be applicable here. Do your own pros and cons. Examine the commercial value. You know, how much money can you generate at the fair? But be careful what you compare. You know, be careful to what you compare to. And most of all, of course, as always, use your common sense, you know, combined with the experience and statistics that you're offered there. And I think we will have a poll here, a very quick poll that I'd like Admir to do with us, to share with us. If you are ready, then maybe we can enter the poll. So I'm asking, in Europe, what's your opinion? Large gatherings are the best way to communicate, or are you more that you can say, I'd like face-to-face, but it should not be too large? Or are you the type saying less is more? I prefer smaller meetings. Or do you say, I don't want to do anything. I just want to be, you know, in the digital way and in the written way. So obviously, you know, that's always a matter of preference. So I let you choose your personal, you know, your personal choices. And as the questions are a bit longer, just take your time to read them. So I think we've seen most.
Should I close?
Yes, please. And I'm sorry, I lost now a little bit my my control panel, so it will need take time to go back. I'm terribly sorry. Maybe one of you can read the results, Michael or Admir.
Yes, I can do that one. While 15% are opting for option 1, large gatherings are the best way to communicate. And most of the participants, 60%, like larger face-to-face events, but it should not be too large. And we have the rest of the answers opting for option 3, less is more. I definitely prefer medium to smaller gatherings.
Okay, so we can see, you know, that most of you are kind of in the middle and saying, okay, yeah, it's nice to be with a lot of people, but I do object, you know, having that big crowd around. So that will be then also then interesting for what, you know, for what I'm going to be saying in the next. But first, then I'm terribly sorry. I need to know whether the slides can be seen, because I can not.
Well, actually, we see your slides. Maybe you have to go to presentation mode.
Yeah. I'm trying to do so, but yeah, okay. So we are now in slide 11, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So I will want to give again practical advice in terms of how to design your fair visit, and now it's going to go step by step. So I recommend what's called the PEP principle. You're going to be traveling a long way. You will spend a lot of money to visit a fair, and you will be away from your desk maybe sometimes even for a week or 2 if you travel to Germany from where you are. So you better be efficient, you better be good in what you do, and this is some recommendations on how to do. So I call the PEP principle. The first one is the pre-fair preparation, what you do before the fair. Then the E is the experience at the fair while you're there. And then the very important part is the post-fair issues that you do, a so-called debriefing. So the first step, obviously preparations before the fair. You take what I said before, you select your fair, you select the right fair that you're going to be going to. And then there's some really small advices to follow. Be aware of the fair dates, of the cycles, of the timings. Start on time. Most people for BIOFACH start planning their next BIOFACH visit right after the fair. Maybe not the week after, but you can be sure that most people who do business there plan it 10 to 14 days after the fair. They start planning next year's February fair. So be aware of that. Keep in touch with other people that go to the fair, exchange experiences, ask people, are you going there again? Let's go there again together, or why are you not going there if somebody's not going there? It allows you to get the information. Early travel planning, Michael has mentioned it. Hotel rooms cost an arm and a leg in all the fair cities. A normal hotel that you're paying 50 euro, you're going to be paying 500 euro if you go during the fair times. And I'm not exaggerating. It can be 50 and 500. It's very, very expensive. Get information on participants. Look up previous year's web pages if their current year is not up to date, and see what companies have been there and analyze it according to that. I put something funny. Familiarize yourself with geography, locations, and technicalities. Where will you hang your coat? I'll give you an example. I hate attending fairs in cold countries. I don't want to say in Russia, but it's actually Russia, because they don't provide places to hang your coat. When you're in the fair in Germany or in France, there is a cloakroom. You can leave your winter coat and you can walk around comfortably. And in Russia, if you're in a fair in January or February, you need to take your coat with you in the fair. I hate that. So that's why I call it where you hang your coat. Make sure that you know that it's cold in Russia, and ask people if there's cloakrooms. It's just a silly example, but things like that can be important for your participation. Make a rough but still detailed enough planning. Plan it, but you cannot plan every micro detail. You have to be flexible as well. Very important about your commercial success or the measurable results. More important than hanging your coat is going to be, are you going to be making money there, or will you be successful? Get detailed information on who will be there and who won't. Just hoping that your favorite conversation partner, just hoping that he's going to be there is not good enough. You can call him, you can ask, you can ask, are you going to be there, and plan accordingly. Try to schedule appointments during the fair, but in an intelligent manner. What I mean is, don't schedule all your appointments on the first morning, because chances are high that other people are going to be doing that as well. So be intelligent, distribute your time. If you're there for 2 days, then make use of all 2 days. Prepare the right information about your products and your services. Don't take 5-kilo catalogs. There's nothing worse than receiving from 10 visitors 10 catalogs, each 5 kilos. They're going to be in trash. People won't take them home, believe me. So be easy, make easy fact sheet, make a pitch deck, electronic information, offer to send information after that, but prepare something that is light and easy. Print enough business cards. There's nothing wrong than receiving business cards and not being able to return it. So this is all very, very practical, important information. Synchronize calendars with others. If you're going there with colleagues, make sure you work out of the same calendars, make sure you're there at the same time. If you're not there at the same time, then try to distribute tasks. Make the right preparations for remote work. While you're there, you will need probably to follow things at home in your office or with your family. So make sure you have internet access. If the fairground doesn't provide internet access, then try to find a SIM card beforehand or research it. Decide if and which digital tools you will use and know them. There's no point in buying a new iPad from Apple if you've used 20 years Android and you want to use the Apple iPad just that morning at the fair where you need to take important notes. Know it beforehand, get trained. And also, it's also something that I'm saying, be physically and mentally prepared. I know it's not always possible, but if you have had an experience, maybe a private experience that was distressful, you might want to not take it to the fair. Try to find a solution or try to take some time back. I know it's difficult to handle sometimes, but going stressful and sad or disappointed to a fair and having to do all these talks is very difficult. Believe me, I also know it from my 25 years where I had to do it. And now we're getting to the fair. Now I just want to tell you, this is Frankfurt Fairground. You're going to get lost there. If you don't plan how to get from hall 9 all the way to the left to hall 1 all the way to the right, that's a 2.5 kilometer walk. So you're going to be needing half an hour or more to walk that. You need to plan ahead. So there's no way in, just going there and popping up and saying, hey, here I am. Let's go now to hall 9 and let's go return to hall 3. it's not going to work out. You need to prepare yourself. So at the fair, I'm always saying at the fair is an experience. So you need to see it there. So when you're there, arrive on time with energy and well prepared. If you're arriving in the morning, have a good breakfast, have a good coffee and get ready for the fair. Make sure you feel comfortable and also make sure you dress properly. A fair is still a formal occasion. Some people think that if they dress, how can I say, specially, it might go wrong. So be aware of how you appear. Review your planning and make adjustments if needed. Flexibility is key. You made a planning, but if that day something goes wrong, don't try to stick to the plan. The fair is the wrong place to force something. So try to be flexible also in that way. Coordinate teamwork. As I said it, if you're there with several people, split tasks. It's going to be easier. Take some time to break out. Have a coffee or 2 or 3 if you need them, or a tea. Try to switch off, try to enjoy the scenery, try to enjoy the architecture of a fairground. It's important to take those little breaks. Make daily reviews alone or with the team if you are there for more than one day. And also try to get things done. Try to work off your list rather than keeping it for the next day or for the last day. It's better to get things done. And just make sure you can adjust your timings and needs and plans if need to. If you plan 5 days at the fair and you discover that 3 days are enough, yes, try to change your ticket. Try to change your return if you can. If not, try to do some other work. Try to get some other work done. But it's important to be able to change your plans. And then, obviously, when you return to your home, do the right steps. But don't wait until you get home. Do the first step when you leave the fairground. If you're flying back home in the evening of the fair, try to make a first note and summary in the hours after the visit while you're in the plane. If you're flying back, if you have a 5-hour flight, take some notes and be efficient. Keep all contact materials and notes with you. Don't put them in checked luggage. It's going to be very difficult to trace them back later on. I think I lost.
Maybe you just go to presentation mode again.
I'm trying to. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. I'll say it again. Keep the business cards that you have collected with you. Don't check them in your luggage. If you lose all the notes from your fair, you're going to be lost. You cannot do the fair again. So keep the valuable things, your notes, with you. Admir, is the screen sharing again?
Well, we can see your screen, but not the correct slides. We are seeing the second or third slide. So if you go to presentation mode, probably will be.
I'm gonna try. It's yeah. Really I'm terribly sorry.
Otherwise, yeah. No, yeah, it's
okay.
good.
Okay. So, and if you're back to your home office after the first rest, take the time to reflect on what you've done. Take the time to go through your notes, take hours if needed, the whole day, but you need time to reflect on what you've experienced at the fair. Write down things, make summaries, the way you do it usually. Share the takeaways with colleagues, make with your colleagues in the office when you've attended a fair in Germany and you return, assemble all the colleagues and give them a presentation of what you've done during the fair. That's very, very good for experiencing it again and getting the right things out of it. Produce a result document, a report, a PowerPoint with movies. You can show your colleagues or your bosses what you've done in a movie. Now media is very easy to handle. And also evaluate the visit now, but do it again in 6 months' time after you could talk again to all the contacts that you made, because you will think about it differently in 6 months' time. Today, it might appear to you, it wasn't a great fair, it wasn't worth going, but maybe in 6 months' time, you will, or in X months' time, you will do a great deal of business and you can capitalize on it. So it's very important to take that time for the debriefing. And when we're talking about the fair itself, I urge you to plan your performance, the way you interact. And by the way, this is valid for the digital fairs as well. Don't think that the digital fairs are not important. What we're doing right now, the same things are valid for that. So try to work according to your plan, again, adjust it if needed, and use your judgment how to approach people. Make sure they understand who you are and what you want. Don't start a conversation about the topic if you haven't told them who you are and if they don't understand really where you're coming from. Be selective with the materials you use. It's no good, as I said, to give them a 200-page catalog. Most likely they won't be taking it with them. If the stand area is too busy, make a B plan, come back later. Or if they're not replying in the matchmaking, in the communication section, if they're not replying, be patient and wait for them. Most likely they're busy in other conversations. Again, as I said, respect the rule, business first. If you are not business, if you want to introduce your NGO or your university for a cooperation, make sure you're not interrupting somebody who's trying to make money with this conversation. Force, panic, or push somebody to talk to you. I say don't get on people's nerves. This is the least thing that they do. Sometimes we do, and sometimes people get on your nerves. So make sure you balance all these conversations out. And then really use your chances, but don't force it. Don't force somebody to talk to you if they're too busy, if they don't have the time. Come back at a later time or contact them after the fair. So I want to take 2 points from what I just said, and I want to give you an advice on to prepare this 30-second fair power pitch. So I told you, make sure they understand who you are and what you want, and don't force or panic and don't get on their nerves. So in 30 seconds, you use 5 seconds to smile, to greet, and to make sure you speak the same languages. I've approached people at fairs many times in English and only to find out they don't really speak English. And they let me talk. They let me talk for maybe 2-3 minutes before they told me, sorry, sir, no English. So make sure that doesn't happen. You can do that in 5 seconds. In 10 seconds, you say who you are, why you came to this company to talk, and you get their reaction. If they tell you you're selling cars, but we're not buying cars, there's no point in you wasting time, then you can politely end the conversation. Take the next 10 seconds to introduce and explain your product and service. And then in the next 5 seconds, sum up and tell the person what you want from them. And if you want to cooperate, you say, and now can we talk about how we can cooperate? And then let them talk for the same time, for the next 30 seconds, let the person talk who's in front of you. You're gonna see at fairs, this works out very, very well. Limit the time and be efficient with your time, and you can achieve much, much more than a 20-minute introduction on who you are and who your family is, and that your grandfather has built a business, and that's all great, but there's really no time for that at the fair. And now the last points that I'm making is the digital events. It's the new reality, and with that, of course, we're going to be moving into letting you to BIOFACH. So the new reality is, along with the travel industry, the trade fair industry has been hit the worst in the world. Of course, excluding the medical professions. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the business world. Anything that matters for fairs is forbidden or restricted. Shaking hands, hugging, kissing, giving presents, talking face to face with 30 centimeters distance, all of that is forbidden around the world. So we're at a really difficult time. Fairs live on planning. They plan minimum 1 year ahead, or sometimes 10 years ahead. How can you plan if you don't know if in 2 weeks your country is going to be open? People are going to be even able to go on the street, let alone to go to a fair. Many organizers were not prepared for digital formats. They put something together quickly. The more I've had the colleagues at Nuremberg Messe who did a great job in doing that. You need to travel to fairs. They live from people traveling. All of a sudden you can't travel, or you need, COVID tests to enter the country. And many industries and products are not suitable for digital formats. I'll be interested in your opinion, but I think that BIOFACH, you need to smell, you need to taste the thing. It's great. It's going to be good. Don't worry. But you want to taste those delicious products. You cannot do that on the internet. It's really, really difficult. So it's really a difficult time. Be patient and flexible. If something doesn't work perfectly, if you're not seeing the screen as I did right now, I became impatient. Just be patient. We're all in the same boat. And the digital events obviously have some pros and cons. My personal ones, this is my personal opinion. Yes, it's an efficient time use, no travel, minimum effect. Look, we're meeting today with half of the world. So it's a great way to meet. It's safe. You're not only, we cannot get ill today, but we don't have to deal with terrorism, with rain, with natural disasters, and if you're physically safe. So it's really good. And embedding digital platforms, social media, the whole thing is coming alive. So if you haven't liked social media, maybe now the time is where you get closer to it because you don't have a choice. The contrast of it is a fallback to the second dimension, as already mentioned several times. You cannot taste, feel, that thing is gone. It's too much trial and error, too many missed opportunities. So many times I wanted to log into a fair or a congress and I couldn't because it was not working. And I'm not sure, I'm skeptical if it's a sustainable concept. If you're buying now a $1,000 software on teleconferencing, maybe you won't need it in a year anymore that much. So we don't know what's waiting for us. So the last one, if my recommendations to make to you for a fair future, I would say continue fairs, don't abandon them. They've been around for 1,000 years and they will be around for another 1,000 years. Don't you worry, they will. It's still the best platform to do business contacts. There is no such thing. And you can sell and grow and improve your business through fairs. If you're an SME, if you're a small company, I assure you, I tell you, you'll be growing the more fairs you visit, the more trade you do there. So don't give it up, go on with it. Second is use and improve your live communication at the fairs or with the fairs. You can practice everything live there. Today, we're practicing it live. So it's a great thing to do. Use it as a self-development tool and see how lucky you are. Many people in many other professions, they can't do that. Our nurses now around the world, they're so busy. The doctors are so busy. They can't be in front of a screen like now as we are. So I think, it's just good to see how lucky we are that we can do that, that we have the time to do that and we're healthy to do that. And then also discover the advantages of the communication. Why not search your next job at the fair? If you're going to BIOFACH next year, hopefully we are all going to be at BIOFACH, and you want a job in that industry, take your CV with you. Take your CV with you and search a job. You can do that at the fair too. And don't forget, have fun, enjoy the visit, dream of something at the fair. I always dreamt, when I visited fairs, I'm going to be working in another country, in another continent, and so I did. So that's the place to do. And then obviously number 3, use all the digital solutions that you have. Try to be selective, be open for new things, be open for virtual fairs visit. They might be around for a longer time. And don't jump into quick conclusions. I personally think it's wrong to say fairs are dead, won't be anymore. Digital formats won't replace. I can assure you in 10 years, we will meet again in good health and we'll still be talking about fairs. So with all of that, I thank you for listening. It's been a lot of information. Anything you want to know, anything you would want to know, from this, what I said, just drop me a mail. Just it doesn't matter. No formal introductions. Hello, Alex. I've been in your talk. I have a question on this point. Why do you tell me not to get on people's nerves? Be assured I'll give you a lot of good reasons not to do so. So just feel free to ask any questions. If I talk maybe too fast, stop. Just go back to any of them and you send me a mail. And now it's time to ask your questions.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Michael, for the great presentation. I think it was very interesting. So we are starting now with the question and answer sessions. As I posted here in the chat window, feel free to switch on your microphone or webcam to see your question, or just post it in the chat window. I think we have a first comment or a question from Aleksandar. I see that you are reading it as well. This event is my very first trade fair and really like it. Therefore, I would like to know if it's possible for me to organize a trade fair in agriculture. Wow.
Mazi, may I ask you, where are you? In which country are you? Your microphone.
Yeah. And are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Where are you?
Thank you, and thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. And I'm in Cameroon. So
In Cameroon. Okay. Why I'm asking this? Why I'm asking this? Because that's the first question. What's your market? It's not about, you can organize a trade fair very easily if you have the contacts, if you have the right people in your hands. But the question is there a market? Do you have a market for that? Are there people who want to sell something? Are there people who want to buy something? So you can organize a small fair or a medium fair, but you need to have the market. And then your second questions, you have to have the right partners to succeed. You don't have to have many partners, but you have to have the right partners to succeed. If, for example, the Camerooni government is a good partner, if they have a fund, maybe funds to help you, many countries do help new fairs, you know, why not? There is lots of opportunities, but you need to do a lot of homework, have the market, and have right partner. And, you know, if you need anything else, there's people like us. There's also many other people like us, so don't be afraid to ask.
Yes, there's actually a German Cameroon trade show that is approaching us and that we support somehow. So there's a business association, Cameroon German Business Association there behind that. It's a small trade show, but this may be interesting to, I can establish the contact, maybe you can add and partner with them.
yeah, it would be really nice for me. And may I ask another question, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm working with a German non-governmental organization and working in the field of agriculture and rural development. And we are now running a project with some villages, and we want to organize such events. That's why I asked the question: how to organize it, how to succeed, and is it an obligation to have like partners that will help you, or how could I get partners? I mean, during this event, if there are some organizations or even some individuals like Aleksandar, like now, and other partners who can help or give advices that will help me to succeed in such events. That's what I want to know.
Yes, well, as I partially already said, yes, you need partners. It's very difficult to organize something on your own. So you need good partners. From what I could get, you already have a good partner. The German NGO is a very, very good place to start. So maybe first get together with them and, you know, make your concept of the fair. Try to see what you want to do. Write it down on 2 pages, maximum 2 pages, not more. But write down what you want to do. And then in Cameroon, it's one of the countries I haven't been to, and I've never been to a fair there. But in Cameroon, maybe there are some private fair organizers. So look up on the internet if there are companies, private companies who organize fairs, and just make an appointment with them and discuss it. So we have this idea. We have a German partner. It's also a very strong partner. Are you interested? Are you interested to do this together? Make sure you don't reveal too much information, because if the idea is good, they might do it themselves without you. That can happen. But at the end of the day, you need to talk to people. You need to explain what you want to do, and then you find new partners. So also don't have too many partners. If you have 20 partners, there are some fairs who engage everybody who's there. Everybody is available in the country. Not every ministry of your government is relevant. Maybe the Ministry of Trade or Ministry of Economy is a good partner, but there's no sense to approach the Ministry of Construction. They have no dealings in it. So again, be selective, be good in what you do, and have good ideas and bring them to paper, and then you can discuss that with the potential partners. And then you invite us to the fair in Cameroon, to Yaoundé. We want to.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I also just shared my email, and to everyone, if you have questions, Cameroon, because we have operations, we have an office in Cameroon, we have activities, we work with startups in the agricultural scene, like Rainbow Farm, for example. We connect them with German and Austrian companies. So please send me an email on this, in the chat, my email.
Okay, I will, right after this, I will send you an email. Thank you very much.
Any other questions that we can answer? We have so many people.
I think Christina
Christina,
was a question.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. And as you have visited so many fairs, especially BIOFACH, what could you recommend us? Like, for example, I know that if I am selling, let's say, honey, sorry, and there are like 100 other people selling honey, what have you seen that has like successful ways of differentiating yourself from these other 100 people selling the same thing, right? Like what comes to your mind when you think about this?
I'm laughing because I am originally from Serbia, and half of my family is engaged in beekeeping. It's become, there are two things that in my family they do. One is producing honey, and the other one is producing raspberries. So I get these questions that I want to sell my honey to Germany. How can I do it? So I get that quite a lot. You have to two things that help distinguish you from others in any sales, and particularly in this very, very popular organic field, is you need to have very clear distinction of what is in your product. So why is your honey special? Which country are you from, Christina?
I'm from Ecuador.
From Ecuador, okay. So if you say honey from Ecuador, most likely, you know, if some people will find it interesting, but honey from Ecuador, okay. But if you say honey from the Galapagos Islands, or honey from Guayaquil, or you know, honey from the middle of the world, from El Mitad del Mundo, that creates something. So you need to have distinguished features, particularly here in Europe. You have people who like a lot of exotic products. Now you're far away. If you tell them that honey has been produced, you know, at the Mitad del Mundo, at the middle of the world, you have this nice strip in Quito, you know, then that is a feature. So work on your brand. Your brand is very important, and that will probably be a feature. Second one is to have clear biological advantages. People here are very conscious about what they eat, and they want to know why your honey is different from others. And most likely, if it's coming from Ecuador, it's also going to be more expensive. So you need to have good arguments for your products, and that will distinguish you from the farmer here from the Schwarzwald, you know, from the forest, who has other great things in his honey, but he's not from Ecuador. So you need to distinguish yourself from the competition. That will be my first advice.
Maybe I just add one point also, because at the trade show you talk to big traders like retail chains, for example, so they will also ask for quantity. So you have to be able to deliver a huge quantity. So you have to have made a lot of investments, and then you have to make sure it's up to the standards. It's the quality infrastructure. And, you know, European market at least is very close to these products, and the certification is very expensive. So it's a chicken and egg problem. So you say, oh, I will certify these products, but at the same time, it's not worth it if you only sell small quantities. But to get big quantities, you need to invest. So it's very difficult. So ideally, you participate in a joint pavilion with your country or some in Chamber of Industry to get a feel, a small booth, and just to check the market. So the trade show for you as a starter will only be a way to get to know the market. You will not sell at the first trade show. Yeah, so it's a process.
Great, thank you.
We have Paula from Argentina, and I'm, you know, put smile on my face because this is what we love. You know, this is what we want to do. Paula is asking, I would like to know if it is right to present my ancient grain research project and ask for a collaboration, or send it after a digital meeting. So from what I could understand, Paula wants to know whether she should present something that is very, very particular. Ancient grain research is very, very particular, whether to present it fully or to present it after the digital meeting. If you're visiting BIOFACH in 2 weeks, if you're participating, I would say, Paula, have a real good pitch desk you know, a real good pitching document, 1 page, maximum 1 page that you can share quickly online. Appa is there, hello. Sorry, I didn't see you. Have one really good document. And for example, you caught my attention now. I would love to know what it is. We don't have time now. So get something really quickly, you know, that you could zoom in, explain why is it ancient, how old, where it's from in Argentina. Is it from, I'm sure it's not from Buenos Aires, any grains in Buenos Aires, but you know, from other regions. Hugely interesting topic. And again, in Europe, a lot of people want to have these exotic things. They consider Latin America as the next grain storage or grain warehouse of our future. So hugely interesting subject, hugely good. You have something concentrated, explaining the key points, and then afterwards you send it to somebody and you say, may I take some time now to explain it in more detail? I'm sure everybody's going to be interested because it's a hugely interesting topic. Michael, you misspelled your email address.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'll do it again.
Because you're gonna be getting 100 emails now, and they're all gonna get an error message. So let's make sure.
Thank you very much.
No, it's correct.
But you feel free to add Michael and Aleksandar on LinkedIn as well. We have linked their LinkedIn profiles within the community in the group or on the event page. So I think that that would work as well.
Actually,
And Admir can share my email address. My other one, I will share it with you. I usually don't react to inclusions into clubs, into blogs, because there's too many. I do respond to personal messages, all of them. So if there is anything you would like to ask to me or to Michael, just send a mail saying, you know, hi, we're from the DAAD Alumni. You'll get an answer. Really, whatever it is. I mean, it's these kind of questions that are very important. From what I can see, a lot of you are dealing with project development, supported or not supported by your governments. That I don't know, but I can only advise to seek support from your own government. Sometimes even the least popular government can be very good in supporting essays. I've seen that in a lot of places around the world, particularly in Asia, particularly in Africa also, but mostly in Asia. Some governments have really good support programs. Some governments have support programs that are funded by other governments. So make sure you also check out the programs of the European Union, of UNIDO, of the UN organizations, of my own. I work for the World Bank. So the World Bank, EBRD, and other development banks have good support programs. Asian development banks, Asian Investment Bank, those are hugely important organizations. The Islamic Financing Bank has good programs. So just make sure you exhaust all your resources. I see that there is lots of small developments, particular ones, agricultural ones. And again, you're right in BIOFACH. You're at the very right place. You won't sell there, but you can see who's around. Maybe you won't sell your honey, Paula, but not all the previous colleague. But you will definitely have you can compare yourself with other people. So I hugely recommend to be very active next week in BIOFACH.
Great. Thank you, Aleksandar. Michael. Well, we'll be sharing your slides, and if you agree, also your contact details with all the participants of this seminar, but also with the other participants of this project who couldn't make it today to this event. Yeah, so it's BIOFACH, and the Alumni Special Project is also about networking. So I'm happy that maybe some networking, exchanging of ideas will happen here also after this event. Well,
you know, at the end of the day, the purpose of these people doing it online is they want to search more people. So I think it's a good time. I think it's a very good time to do that. You obviously doing the right thing, and really congratulations for the governmental support from Germany that it's getting. From that, you can see that the German government and also a lot of other European governments are very keen on keeping those ties, because in COVID times, a lot of ties get broken. You cannot come here, you cannot exchange. So I really find that a lot of the governments here in Europe, in the European Union, are making a huge effort of keeping the contact alive and keeping the special contact that you have through your education with Germany, you know, to grow and to develop your business. And I'm really sure you're going to have a good time at BIOFACH. It will be very interesting, the results. Try to embrace some of the advices that we gave you, that Michael and I gave. You know, particularly what I told you, how to behave and not to bother people too much or what to say. It's difficult to do that in a digital fair. It's limited value advice, I admit, but try to take it to post-pandemic times. And try to apply most of it in the digital way. You'd be surprised. In this meeting, we could apply a lot of those. So let me not get on nerves anymore. Let me take your questions.
Yes.
I have time. I'm not limited in my time, so we can, even if people have to drop out because we are above time.
We have with the participants of the workshop at the University of Heidelberg, we'll have at 4 p.m. we have another event, so in 20 minutes. So we have 20 minutes maximum for more questions. So maybe the other participants have any questions they want to ask. Feel free to switch on your mic.
They will need a biological break before the other meeting, so yeah.
If there are no questions, maybe just my personal experience with digital affairs. I mean, we participate as co-organizers in the small trade show in Augsburg, which is a city in Bavaria, southern Germany, near Munich. And this was before a local event, a regional event, very specialized on decentralized energy supply, off-grid conference it's called. And we actually used the online platform to internationalize this event. So we really marketed well through the UN, and we had, rather than just having some German engineers talking about solar energy, we had project owners, partners from all over the world, Latin America, Africa, joining in, meeting each other. So actually, thanks to COVID, this event became international. And I guess in the future it will be hybrid. There will be some events in Augsburg, but they will continue doing this online format. And it's actually the same platform that BIOFACH is using, Talk. So and my experience with that as an exhibitor and co-organizer of the trade show was good. And it helped us a lot to reach out to a lot of people in all over, it's very rural, local environments, this decentralized mini-grid systems and connecting investors, the technology and all this in a digital format. So there's a really positive aspect of these developments as well. Of course, we need to get out of this quickly to make this optional rather than the only option. Maybe BIOFACH is similar, although this is obviously already a very international and huge event.
I'm pretty sure we're going to meet next year. I'm confident that if the BIOFACH would be in May, I'd say we will meet for sure. But I'm pretty sure that one way or the other, hopefully I'm right, we will next year in February is a good timing. And why I'm saying this, because also I want to encourage you. Actually, I want to make it a little bit stronger. What I said, your link to Germany is very, very useful. I'll explain why. I see a lot of times how people are trading with Germany. 20 years in Turkey, made me very sensitive for this subject. And now I'm in Germany myself, and I can see which value it has to have a good network here, because Germany is in the middle of Europe. Germany is a driving force in trade and a lot of things. And through Germany, you can connect to a lot of other markets. So it's not only Germany, you have all the other markets around, but the market for organic food, for intelligent agriculture, for digital systems, for special products like grains, like honey, like spices, like any other things, is huge in Germany. It doesn't go away. And people do spend income on that. They spend money on that. The chains that we have here, most of you have visited Germany, the chains of biofood, of organic food, it's enormous. And even now the supermarkets, my retailer here called Rewe, it was a small shelf they had for for organic food. Now they removed the sweets. The chocolate is on a totally different side, and they put a huge shelf with Alnatura products, with franchise products from other suppliers that they're selling now there. So it's a lot of market here. Use your links to German market intelligently through BIOFACH online this year. Try to keep the fire alive, and then come next year to Germany and rock it in. I mean, this is good business. You're in a very, very good niche of the business. If you're intelligent, if you use the right tools, then it's going to be a good market. So hopefully see you all next week. Let's do a reunion next week at BIOFACH. If you're coming to BIOFACH next week through Admir, let's just meet somewhere in a cafe and let's all exchange our experience. That would be my wish.
Yeah, we can notice that you miss the real fairs, the real trade fairs. I can tell that. As a fan of digital tools, I fully agree that they do not replace the physical events, but they add value, of course, as we are noticing every day, and as Michael also said. Saying that out, maybe give the chance to the participants to take a last questions before closing, if there are any. I don't see any questions in the chat, and nobody has raised his hand or switched on the mic to ask the question. Maybe for the participants, one participant just joined us. We'll share the recording of this web seminars and the slides with you. We'll send the email with the necessary links. So, well, actually, I don't have anything else to say. Just thank you, Michael. Thank you, Aleksandar, for the great presentation and for this Q&A section, and to all Germany alumni being present today here. I would also kindly remind all the participants who will be attending the workshop of the University of Heidelberg to join us at 4 p.m. Anna Munz is here as well from the coordination team. Maybe you want to say something, Anna?
Yes, thank you, Admir. Also, thank you for the chance to promote the session. So again, thank you, Michael and Aleksandar. Very interesting. It's also my first virtual fair as a participant. I'd like to join. Recently, there were a lot of fairs also for educational institutions, but this time this would be my first visit as a participant. And for all the Heidelberg participants, I would like to invite you for our session. It's an introduction to the course before we officially start on Monday. Yes, thank you. And thank you, Admir.
Yeah, I just shared the link to this Zoom meeting at 4 p.m. because we are meeting in another Zoom Zoom meeting, DAAD in the code as well. So that's, I think we said it all. Thank you again, and see you next time, hopefully at BIOFACH Nuremberg.
Thank you. Thank you. I wrote it also. It's been really a pleasure, and I feel privileged to meet people. I mean, it's every time, it's so great to meet people from different corners, and to see that at the end of the day we all think of the same thing. A better life, more sustainable. Preserving the nature. So that's also really great to see, and hopefully you get the best out of biotech, as I said, and I'm not sure speaking for Michael as well. Send us a mail, send us a message. We'll do our best to help you.
Great, thank you. Just sorry, one last thing. I noticed that I haven't posted in the main chat the link of the meeting with the introduction event for the workshop, the University of Heidelberg. I just posted again here so everybody can see it now. Okay, so take care, and some of you see in some minutes, and the rest tomorrow. We have also another introduction round with the DAAD tomorrow at 2 p.m. But we'll let you know. We'll send you another mail. A lot of mails sending you lately. Thank you for your understanding. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye to everybody.
Ciao.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.